what I'd like to do is kind of discuss what we mean or what we understand that term convergence to mean. And I think really for you guys, it means opportunity. It means that, ultimately there are opportunities for businesses, and particularly demand-side users and smaller users, that National Grid are going to try and work with you to help you realize and make the most of. What I'd like to do in the next few minutes is explore what's driving those opportunities and how we as the electricity system operator are responding to that to help you realize the potential for your businesses. However, this isn't a simple task. It's not easy, and particularly when energy isn't part of your core business. It's going to take effort, it's going to take a lot of pain, and it's a journey that we've been through ourselves recently, kind of responding and reacting and understanding that change. And so I'd like to kind of talk to you a little bit about what we've done there and how that will help you as well. So looking at this graph, by a show of hands, does anyone have any idea what this graph might mean to National Grid's system operator? We've got a shy audience. Tim, what do you think that is?
Is it frequency control?
It's almost like I planted him in the audience. That does look very similar to the frequency tracker we've got in our control room in Wokingham that shows how we balance the network second to second to make sure that we're keeping frequency at 50 hertz. However, what it really represents is the change curve that National Grid have been on over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So we've been through denial, anxiety, and we're now at that point of acceptance and commitment and that drive forward towards opportunity. And actually, we appreciate that actually you kind of demand-side users, you've been fellow travelers, you've been on that journey as well. The winds of change have been blowing for National Grid, and we really realized that we had to act, and we had to act now if we were to maintain our business and maintain the value that we provide for our customers, stakeholders, and the communities that we serve and the energy that we connect them to. So after some painful stages, we really feel like we're at a point now where we can begin to share with you how we think the future might look and what we might be able to do to help you make the most of it. Of course, back to my original point, we appreciate that energy isn't your core business, and therefore what we've really got to do for you is make it simple, make it standardized, remove those barriers to entry, make it easier to sell services to us, and make the most value of the flexibility that you can provide and that we need to help balance the system and reduce costs for the consumer and ultimately for you as well. So what's been driving that kind of fear, that anxiety, that denial over the last few years? Well, like most things, there's push and there's pull factors. On the push side, we've had BEIS, Ofgem, our regulators driving us to be more efficient, to find better ways to balance the network, to reduce costs for consumers, to force through that move towards decarbonisation that Tim's talked about as well. And on the pull side, we've seen increasing penetration of renewable energy sources, distributed energy resources, and also that move towards the increased digitalization and decarbonisation, if I can say that, the Internet of Things. So how do we respond to that as that staid old utility, that transmission system operator? How do we react and move forward in the future? And for us now, we're operating in a world of interlinked assets. It's not just about generation and that linear sense of large power plants anymore. We've got to interact with you guys with much broader range of stakeholders looking at smaller, more flexible assets. There's a great expression that I really love. It's the future doesn't just happen, it gets created. And for a long time, it was getting created and being done to us. And what we had to realize is we needed to react, and we needed to react now. So I sit about 20 feet in our Warwick office, not far from here, from our Energy Insights team. And these folks, they are absolute boffins. They produce our FES report. I don't know if any of you guys read that each year, but it looks at future energy scenarios, what we think is going to happen in the energy market in 5 years, 10 years, right the way out to 2050 in some instances. Do you know what? These are some of the smartest people I know in the energy industry. But in 2012, predicting forward to 2020, do you know how much solar power they reckon would be installed on the network? We reckon there would be 1 gig installed by 2020. By 2017, there were 12 gigs installed. How wrong had we got that? It was frightening. So I'll tell you what, with that in mind and knowing how wrong we got that, what do you reckon? We predicted that there would be, In 2012, for 2020, we predicted there would be 12% of embedded generation. So that's generation not connected to our transmission network, but to the distribution networks. What percentage do you reckon we actually have in 2017? Shout out a number. It can't be as wrong as our Fez team was.
35%.
Hey, it's not a bad shout. We're actually sitting at 23% is the number I got for 2017. So the future's happening. The growth of installed renewable generation is increased, and we need to react to that and work with you guys to get the best value for it. And this is happening in the news as well, and in reality, how this is being demonstrated, not just in graphs showing how much is being connected, but also in reality, in how we're experiencing it in our control room, how we're balancing the network. So in March this year, we had our first day since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution where we generated electricity energy without anything coming from coal-powered power stations. Not long after that, we had times when our minimum demand in the afternoon was lower than our minimum demand in the middle of the night. So it must have been windy. It must have been sunny. Later that year, we found that almost a quarter of our generation in one day, so 24.3%, about 8.7 gigawatts of demand generation, was provided by solar. And we've had days now in June last year when over 50% of generation was provided by renewable energy sources. So amongst all this change, the SO, the system operator, National Grid, we've had to figure out how we react to it, how we best harness it, and how we support businesses like yourselves to unlock the potential that your flexibility has to help us manage the network and help you guys find the commercial advantage that you might have. So we need to figure out how we keep the lights on, how we keep the system balanced, how we keep it secure while maintaining a level playing field. So for all parties, new, old, large, small, transmission connected, distribution connected. And so what we've done is we've put our heads together and we've come up with a number of documents that we've published to the market. So our ESO Forward Plan, if you haven't read this yet, I really encourage you to. This is the first time that we've published what we're going to do for the next 12 months. We've made commitments to you guys to say, this is what we're going to do. My team in business development at National Grid, we're responsible for facilitating competitive markets, for removing barriers to entry, for making things simple, fair, transparent, and helping you guys participate. Hold us to account. Give us feedback. Tell us how we're doing. We've also produced in my team the system needs and product strategy to tell you what we're going to do with the markets, how FFR, response and reserve, is going to change, how we're going to move to auction-based solutions, how we're going to give you a simpler way to contract with us, a fairer way, a more open and transparent way. And we're going to produce roadmaps to show you over the next 12, 18, 24 months how we're going to do that, not just for the response and reserve products, but also for other things like black start, how we manage thermal constraints and reactive power as well. So there's huge opportunities there for you. And we're also looking to improve our toolkit as well. So how we procure the services that we need to balance the system and manage the network. I guess the key message here for me is, guys, be innovative, be flexible with your flexibility. We want it, we need it. We're going to look at whole system solutions, how we transcend the TO and the distribution network boundaries to create markets where you can sell services to both, where you can find the value and work to get the best value for your assets. We're looking at working with distribution networks as well for the first time. And this is something that you guys should contact your local DNOs as well and figure out what trials they're running, what opportunities you've got there to engage with them, looking at those whole system opportunities as well. I will, what can you do? What are the revenues that you could stack potentially? It's not just about selling balancing services to us. That's absolutely something we're very keen to do and break down those barriers. But also think about the capacity market. Can you get contracts in that? Think about peak demand avoidance, looking at triads and how you manage that as well. There's huge opportunities there for you. This is, again, part of the strategy that we're doing over time. Where might all this lead to? But what we see is it moving to a whole system approach where there are markets in the distribution area and in the transmission area where you can sell products into both to help us manage the system and the network for you. Over time, we've seen a huge increase in the number of submitted and accepted tenders for our FFR product. We've seen the increased liquidity in that market, driving competition and reducing costs for you guys and for consumers. What we want to do is open up more markets like this, create more opportunities for you, more liquid, more competitive opportunities. So if I could just sum up, I'm here speaking under the Power Responsive banner. Power Responsive is a program that National Grid Electricity System Operator supports. It's there to try and address the complexities in the market, to remove the barriers, to increase confidence for you guys and your investors to know what the opportunities are, what the direction of travel is in the market. We are absolutely technology agnostic. It's not just about big generation or distributed generation. It's not just about traditional or non-traditional. We're there to find what we need to deliver that for the system and create an open and transparent market. We're there to raise opportunities and awareness of them. Power Responsive is that platform to communicate this to key industry stakeholders, to help you guys understand the change and where you can see those opportunities. So please, if you've got a few moments and any questions, please visit the Power Responsive stand. It's BS 46 upstairs, and find out a little bit more about how you can get involved and how you can support. Thank you ever so much for your time and attendance, and for being a very kind and gentle audience with me on day 12. I very much appreciate it. Thank you.